Don't forget to let people.
Well, they haven't said that there's anybody there yet even.
Yeah, it did say that Dana was there.
I don't see.
Is where it says participants.
Oh, down there too, yeah. Should I click on that?
I don't know, sure, see if that's the right one.
Usually it's up in the right-hand corner.
Click on participants.
I will. I'm just trying to get the camera up.
Oh, I always have trying. Every time you didn't turn, there it is. Here's Dana. You might as well see her baby. Her mom, Diana. Yeah, look at mommy's coming, Montana.
You gotta look at the camera.
Look
Say
at
hi to
her,
mommy.
Oh.
They all do this thing when you pick them up. They do that. Montana's waving.
Hi, Montana. Hi, good puppy. Hi, Montana. Are you a good boy? Oh, do you know your name?
You know the name.
A smart boy.
Did you bring me a toothpick? Thank you.
They're loving their 2 sticks now. Week. They're good boys.
Hi. I know.
Some.
I know.
Boys, some. There's some parents speaking of dim sum. Oh, there's the there.
Hello. Hi, Taylor.
Hello.
I'm hiding in the background.
Hi,
Dana.
Claire.
Hi, Claire.
I have the comfy seat. I make the young girls sit in the hard spot
Piranhas.
with the piranhas.
Yeah.
There's your dad's dim sum. There's your dad.
There's
Oh.
Who's that dim sum? There's a good girl.
And Winston, your mama's there. We just can't see her, but say hi, Mama.
Yes.
Attacking Taylor.
Good boy, Winston. It's a boy.
You're all so high energetic today.
They were just outside running around for a bit. They all had the zoomies. They all love going running around the pond at full speed.
Aw,
Don't
those
you?
tails are just a going.
Yep, they are. Their tails never stop, I don't think. They're a very happy little girl. They finally got over missing Mandy.
Did it take a few days to figure it out?
Yeah, they took a little longer than some. They were forever crying at whenever the big dogs came in.
Oh,
Yeah. But they still whine when they see the big dogs, but they don't fuss forever and ever. They're always hopeful that it might be mom showing up again.
yes. Meanwhile, Mandy's getting spoiled at home having spa days now, right?
Yep, exactly. She's not missing being here apparently.
She had enough of the kids.
Yeah.
She likes being the center of attention instead of I give some ice sweetie. Hello, babies. Hello. She says, hello, sunshine. Hello. Oh, baby.
Monty, there's your mom. Say hi, Mom.
And we can all be jealous watching Sarah, who's in Jamaica.
At least it's sunny in Vancouver, even though it's cold. So not that bad.
Yeah, it's
Not that bad. That's
But
good.
What is the temperature there, Sarah?
The temperature is about 25, going
Oh,
up to 27 this afternoon.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
so
nice.
about 20 degrees warmer than here.
yeah.
Oh, you want to let Grace in there? And then who is missing? Mandy. Four-legged Mandy.
There's one over there.
Okay. As soon as Grace gets on there, I'll get you guys all to mute yourselves, please. And then we'll get started as soon as Grace gets connected here. And then Mandy can join in later. Mandy, four
It's
legs.
Is Monty not there yet?
No, he's here.
He's here.
He's chewing on his chew stick
That's
over there.
right. There he
Oh,
is.
okay.
Yeah.
Chewing on his chew stick. Having a great time there. Hi, Grace.
And there's your mom. Sunshine, say hi.
Saying some hi. Hi. I'll just get you to mute yourself, Grace, if you don't mind, and we'll get started.
Sarah too.
And Sarah, you as well, if you don't mind muting yourself.
What am I to do?
Mute yourself just in the bottom left.
Sure.
See where the microphone is and it says audio, just click on that and it will put a red line through it. If you can't see it, don't worry, we can do it from here.
There we go. Maybe.
There,
Yep.
yep, you're all done. All right. Okay, I have incorporated all the questions that you have sent me into going through each section here. But if I don't answer the questions you sent in fully, or you have any other question, just put your hand up, Reynolds will see you, and he'll let me know to stop talking, and we'll go through your questions. So the first thing we're gonna go through is the contract, so everyone got the contract to read through. The main thing I want to point out for this is when you go to the vet for your 3-day checkup, and indeed every time you go to your vet, remember to take along a copy of the contract. And the reason for that is just so your vet knows that first of all, you have a contract and that you didn't get your puppy from a backyard breeder. And secondly, so that they can be reminded of what your contract says in terms of the vaccination schedule, in terms of using flea and tick products, and for worming your puppy. Because you don't want to have your contract invalidated, the health warranty part of it, because your vet forgets something, you aren't particularly familiar with the terminology they're using, and before you know it, something's happened that violates the terms of the contract. So when you go to get your next set of shots, that's 4 weeks from the first set that they just had on Tuesday. And then it'll be 4 weeks subsequent to that. And that is the end of the shots that they need to have. If you choose to have any of the optional ones, such as the Bordetella or the leptospirosis, then you just need to separate those by a couple of weeks so that you're not overloading them on vaccinations. First of all, that keeps them safer from having a reaction, and it also makes each of those vaccines have greater efficacy. With the rabies shot, you can give them their first rabies shot when they're 12 weeks old. If you have to be, well, actually, it doesn't matter anymore because you can't travel to the US until your puppy's 6 months, no matter what. So the only real reason you need to have the rabies shot is to get back into Canada. You do not need a rabies shot to get into the US, but you cannot re-enter Canada from the United States without a rabies vaccine, because the US is a rabies country. So you'll want to wait till the puppies are 6 months, then get your rabies shot done. The rabies shot, the first one has to be repeated annually, and then after that, it's every 3 years that it has to be repeated. Your other shots, the core vaccines for parvo, distemper, etc., those are probably going to last your dog for their entire life. I have never had to revaccinate or boost a puppy. So that's why we do what's called titer testing. So you're going to get your puppy titer tested at 20 weeks. That gives your puppy long enough to not give you a false positive or a false negative. And then if everything's fine, you only need to do that once every 3 years to make sure they have immunity. And that's just a simple blood test. If you don't live in Vancouver, it will be sent to Vancouver to the IDEX lab. And it costs about $125 roughly. And it will make sure that your dog's immunity is still in full force. So that's it for the vaccines. Anyone have any questions about that? Nope, everybody's good? Okay,
Oh,
great.
Sarah.
Oh, Sarah, did you have a question? Oh, you just have to unmute yourself first, Sarah. Just press that same, there you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
did you say 3 weeks or 3 months for the titer test?
Every 3 years.
But but the first one,
The first titer test is at 20 weeks.
20 weeks, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Grace, you have a question too?
yeah, I do. So will you give us the first vaccine certificate because the puppy preschool requires it as a prerequisite?
Yeah, there's no certificate for that. What you
Okay.
get is a health passport that has all
Okay.
the information in it, and then that's what you would show to the puppy school.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Now for worming, your puppy will go home to you with a clear fecal. They will not need to be wormed. And once a year, when you go for your annual checkup, your puppy will get a fecal analysis done. If they have worms, you will treat them for worms. If they don't have worms, you won't have to do anything. You don't want to be overworming your dogs all the time because it's hard on their system. Parasite control is different in different areas. So for those of you who travel with your dog, so if you're going to Ontario, if you're going to the US outside of Washington, so if you're going to California, if you're going to Arizona, if you're going to Las Vegas, or to Nevada, those areas all have heartworm. They have other things that you can't protect your dog against. Heat fever is the #1 thing that is a problem for dogs in those areas. But heartworm is everywhere in Florida, all the warmer states, which is where most Canadians tend to go to if they're traveling. So you do need to protect your dog from heartworm preventively. And Revolution, which is acceptable under the contract, will protect your dog against heartworm, and it will also protect your dog from fleas. It will protect them from one type of tick only, so do not think that it is tick protection, because it is not actual tick protection. The tick protection that's permitted in the contract is what you get in your puppy starter kit. It's all natural. If you live in an urban area such as Vancouver, you do not need to be bothered worrying about ticks particularly, unless you're going for a walk in a forested area. If you live on the island and you live in Victoria, Nanaimo, you don't need to worry about ticks particularly unless you're going for a walk in a forested area. If you live in a even semi-rural location like ours, then you do want to be protecting your dog against ticks regularly. And for the tick spray that comes in your puppy starter kit, it's all natural, made in Canada. All you do is spray it all over your dog's body before you go on your walk, and that's it. But every time you are taking your dog out into an area that's forested or where there's very long grass, then you want to be spraying your dog. You don't have to spray them all the time. You don't want to spray them all the time, just when you're going out. So here we have about 8 million ticks in our backyard all the time. So we spray our dogs when we remember. If your dog gets a tick, it's not the end of the world. They're really gross, they're ugly. You want to use either very sharp tweezers or a tick remover tool just to pull the tick out. If you aren't comfortable feeling that you're going to get the whole tick out, or you're worried about it, or it grosses you out, or whatever, go to your vet and have them remove the tick, or even your groomer. Or if you happen to be near where Reynolds and I are, come on over, we'll take it out. It's not hard, they are gross, But the important thing is that you get the entire tick. If you leave their head in, then that could cause a problem. So if you're not worried about that, just pop over into your vet and have them take it out. Fortunately, in British Columbia, most ticks are fairly benign. They do not tend to carry the Lyme disease and the other problematic things that fleas back east do, or ticks rather. However, if you are in the US, once again, their ticks are much more harmful, much more problematic. If you are going to be spending a lot of time in the eastern United States, please let me know, send me an email, and we'll address that, because that is a completely different situation. The thing to make sure that you know and remember is that Bravecto, NexGard, Simparica Trio, any of that line of drugs are strictly prohibited and will void your health contract. One in every 12,000 treatments of those products results in the death of a dog. They are sold by all veterinary clinics because they do meet the Veterinary Association tolerance for what is and isn't safe. They do come with a great big huge FDA warning. One in every 8,000 applications of the product results in permanent neurological damage to the dog. The return on the risk for me is way too high. The reason why we make the decision for you during the guarantee period is because if your dog suffers from the neurological damage that these products, they're insecticides or pesticides, that these pesticides cause, it mimics many of the things that we warranty against in our health contract. So that's why we very much restrict the use of them to not be used at all. When they first came out, we thought they were the best thing, and we used them for a very short period of time. We had 2 dogs who had used the product once, 6 months before giving birth. Both those litters had severe birth defects in the puppies. It is a pesticide. You're not gonna spray a pesticide on yourself or your child, so please don't put it on your dog. So that's it for the parasites, worming, and vaccinations portion of things. Next thing we're gonna move on to is safety and socialization. So lots of times everybody wonders, well, where is it safe to socialize my dog? How do I know what dogs it's safe for my puppy to hang around with? The first thing is puppy classes are all totally fine. Don't worry about them. You can't have your dog in a bubble. You don't want to keep your dog indoors for 3 months until they're vaccinated, because that will do them more harm than good. The things that are potentially fatal for dogs are very rare. So generally speaking, as long as you use common sense, everything will be fine. What you want to avoid is areas where a lot of dogs congregate that you don't know. So when you're taking the ferry back home, you do not want to be taking your puppy to the pet relief area. You want to be putting the PPAP from your PSK down on the tarmac or in the back of your vehicle and having your puppy go to the bathroom there. You don't want them walking around near the pet area whatsoever, neither the pet area outside at the terminal or the pet area on the ferry. Walking around on the ferry and on the tarmac is totally fine. The thing that we recommend you do is use the wipes that are in your puppy starter kit. Wipe their paws off with those each time. They are not 100% guaranteed that your puppy won't pick something up, but it does help to eliminate the risk quite substantially. You want to ask people before they come over with their dog, where have they been? So if they've been to the vet, or they've been to the groomer or boarding daycare, that is not a dog you want your puppy to be near. You want to avoid dogs who have been in those places within the past 10 days. So pretty much it's gonna be friends, family that you're comfortable enough asking, hey, where's your dog been lately. So you can make a decision whether or not it's okay for your dog to be hanging out with that dog. Cause just like people, just because dogs are vaccinated, they still shed disease, just like you and I do. You know, I may be vaccinated against COVID, but if I happen to have COVID, I can give it to you if you're not vaccinated. So same thing for the puppies. So just ask people. The most dangerous place you're going to take your puppy is the vet clinic. So whenever you go to the vet clinic, you want your puppy to be in their crate, no paws on the floor at the vet clinic ever. And when it's time for them to go on the table to be examined, you take your puppy blanket that everybody will get, you put that on the table and make sure their paws only stay on that blanket. That way you're going to be sure that your puppy's not picking something up from the clinic. And as an added measure, what I like to do is before I go in the clinic with a unvaccinated puppy, I phone ahead just before I go in and say, hey, just coming in with Rover, just double checking that nobody's been in today with anything contagious. Because you can't expect that the front desk staff are going to remember that your dog isn't immune yet. So just in case somebody has come in with kennel cough or somebody's come in with a case of suspected parvo or distemper, in which case then you would be rescheduling your appointment for another time. Because you do not want your puppy going into the clinic if any of those things have been in the clinic that day. Make sense to everybody? Yep. Okay.
Dana had a question about Revolution, about when it's safe for a
Oh,
puppy to start.
Revolution can start in 6 weeks, so anytime now. Yeah. you
Okay,
can-
and I might just leave it until we have to travel, because I really don't have to start it. It's maybe better not to give it until we need it, or do you think it needs to be continuously given to be effective?
No, I think you should wait until the month before you're going to go, then apply it on the months you're there, and then when you come back, stop. It
Okay.
lasts, it lasts for way longer than it says. It's a once a month treatment.
Okay,
Our dogs get it, but I only give it to them 3 times a year. Because
okay,
that they're still protected. However, when we used to go to the States, they got it every month. They got it the month before we went to the States, while we were staying there, and then the month after we came back. Just to
Okay.
be on the safe side.
okay. And I'm sorry, I can't find my hand, so this is the only other question I'll ask about socializing, and then I'll be quiet. Is it over the top if we have a friend come over with a dog that we know is safe from all of those other things? Is it a good practice to have their feet wiped off before they come in the house, just in case they walk through anything outside, or am I being really helicopter on that?
No, that's what I would do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem at all. Safety. No collars and no harnesses on in the house. Collars and harnesses are hugely risky for dogs. Many dogs during the year get strangled from having their collar or their harness get stuck on something that you would never anticipate. So just don't have them on in the house, period. And particularly never, ever, ever in a crate will a dog wear a collar or a harness. When you're walking your dog, always on a harness. We no longer send your dog home with a collar, because I always tell you that you don't need a collar, so it seemed kind of stupid that I was then giving you a collar. So our dogs never wear collars, except for when they go to the groomer, because they're going from the front door into the car and from the car into the groomer, and that's it. So I know they're not going on any walk. The reason for that is collars can really damage a dog's throat. And puppies in particular, their tracheas are very soft. They're still developing. If you are ever putting a leash on them with a collar, you can do extreme damage to them. You can't even kill them. That's at the extreme, but you can do a lot of damage to them. When you're traveling with your dog in your vehicle, other than on pickup day, always have your dog traveling in the booster seat and tethered in with their harness, not traveling in a crate. Having a dog in a crate in a car is dangerous for the dog and for you. Richard, did you have a question, or Chris?
Yeah, so in the contract you mentioned about the retractable leash.
Yes. No retractable leashes. Retractable leashes are also a weapon of death and breaking necks for dogs. They also break a lot of fingers for people. Many people have fingers amputated because they've used a retractable leash. They are the worst possible thing you can ever put on your dog. Same as a martingale collar or any type of choke collar. Any type of collar is bad, but martingales and chokes are particularly bad.
And prongs.
And prongs. There are some breeds of dogs that require those types of assistance mechanisms. Your ALD does not, especially not a little tiny one like these guys.
Okay, so for the ferry, Claire, like sometimes like we never really stay in the car while in the ferry, but like with the puppies, like is it okay for us just like stay in the car? Like we don't travel that often with the ferry. Do we
Yeah,
have to like leave the car or can we stay with the car all the time during the ferry ride?
yeah, when you make your reservation for the ferry, you will be able to request an upper deck so that you can get out of the car with the puppy. But you can also stay in the car, so, because no, you do not want to leave your puppy alone on the ferry.
Yes,
You want
absolutely. We don't.
you know, if you have to go to the bathroom or get something to eat, just split it up, so one of you's in the car and one of you goes up on the main deck. That's one of the reasons why we have everybody travel with two people, because when you're traveling home, the last thing you wanna do is leave the puppy on the first day that the puppy knows you. You want the puppy to have somebody with them the whole time, and when you drive home with your puppy, you will be doing like what Taylor's doing right now, you're going to hold your puppy, snuggle with your puppy, and have, if you're single, have a friend drive you. So you can do what Taylor's doing. If you're a couple, then if you're going on a longer drive like to Vancouver, you can switch and take turns as to who's doing the snuggles and who's doing the driving. But make sure you figure out who it is first and don't have any big fight and get divorced on your way home.
So we're not gonna do the seat booster then on the first drive.
Correct. You're just
Oh,
gonna
okay.
puppy, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And one other thing about harnesses, there's all sorts of harnesses if you go to the toy, or not the toy store, the pet store. And it's just like when you go to the pet store, there's all sorts of toys, there's all sorts of chews, there's all sorts of food. It's entirely overwhelming. There are no regulations in the pet industry for anything. And unfortunately, the labeling is generally misleading. Everything is a big marketing thing that people do. This is part of the reason why we have the puppy starter kits, so that you don't end up buying things that are harmful, because it's very hard to understand or know. Because you can pick up a package of like the chew stick there, and it will say, oh, single ingredient, produced in
No
Canada.
smell.
Yeah, odor free, and you think, oh, this is a great product. And indeed, actually, the source of the bully stick will have come from overseas. It will have had multiple chemical treatments to remove the odor, which are harmful for your dogs. And it's the only thing that where it's produced in Canada or the US is it's put into the package. So it's very hard to know what is good and what is bad. Same with toys. And particularly dog beds. Dog beds that you buy in the pet store or you order from Amazon, or the ones that in particular that I get in my Facebook feed all the time are these really soft, shaggy looking beds. They're really pretty. And they say, oh, look at your puppy's gonna relax. It's so soft. And they have, Metal, can you put the camera on the blue thing there? They have fabric that's thinner than that and sort of stringy. Well, we've had 3 dogs where people who didn't get their PSK bought those beds. And the dogs all have had major surgery because the threads all come out because the puppies pull and chew on them, swallow them, and get an obstruction. The other thing is that beds in the pet store are almost always full of chemicals and flame retardants, which are cancer causing as a general rule. So all these things are problematic. they're very difficult to figure out in a pet store. So that's why we put the PSK together, so it will be easier.
They're frozen. We'll just wait.
You're still here?
Yeah, we're still here.
Okay, we're getting a message saying our
Camera.
microphone
The cam-
changed off of our camera there. So just hang on there,
The camera's just not working.
and our camera's not working either. Just hang on momentary, Tim, so just click on the video. Cause I can see the audio is working, but just click on the video there,
There?
and click right on the video where the red line is. Okay, and if that doesn't work, then there you go, now it should. No, okay, on the arrow up for video, so it shows you the different options. Sorry, guys, you're not seeing the puppies. I'll just keep talking while we try and get that video feedback. I think there is an update for our webcam that maybe, there we go. Oh, there you go. There's Taylor not working. She's on her tech.
Well,
on her
I
phone.
was pulling up a picture of a harness, so for a no-no.
Yeah, here's a good example. Taylor's being helpful. I'm just teasing her. So like that's something you would never want to do with your dog. And the reason for that is it interferes with their skeletal development. It forces their shoulders to round and pull forward and together, which causes all sorts of arthritis problems in older age. It also prevents them from being able to take a proper breath, and so they can't breathe properly when they're moving. Harnesses that claim to be no pull are made for people who have no interest in their dog. The only reason why your dog pulls on the leash is because you haven't taught them how to walk properly. And that's because you haven't gone to class and learned how to teach your dog how to walk properly. So those are gimmicks. Please don't waste your money on them. They're very harmful for your dog. They will absolutely not work. Indeed, they will make your dog pull even more. Your puppy is walking on a proper harness now. They have all started they haven't started their leash work yet. Taylor will be doing that this week. So they'll already be introduced to the concept of a loose lead. And then when you go to puppy class, you'll get a little bit more of that. Cause they're just a bit too young to really be learning a whole lot right now in terms of how to walk on a leash. We'll talk about that a bit more later on.
Jasmine had a question.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's in the chat, so I don't know what it is. I just saw it was regarding harnesses.
Jasmine, can you just please speak your question, because we can't see your chat?
Hey, yep, I'll do that. Jasmine had her wisdom teeth out yesterday, so she's a little under the weather.
Good, then we're twins, because I had a tooth pulled out too.
Yesterday.
Not yesterday, the day before.
Oh God, lucky you.
Yes, lovely. So what's your question? What can we help you with?
Right. In Sophia Yin's book, she recommends having the pup tethered via her harness and leash as she moves around the house doing chores, so she can always have them close by to have an eye on them. Is this not based on your advice, Claire?
No,
Is this not-
that is totally fine. What the thing that we are against in the house is if they're not attached to you, they shouldn't be doing anything. But if they're on a hands-free leash and you're walking around the house with them, they're still attached to you, that's totally fine. It's essentially you just don't want them unsupervised wearing a harness or a collar.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want them running around the house when they're, loose in the house with their harness on. If you've got them attached to you, yeah, that's totally fine.
Nice, thanks.
Great. All right. Everybody's okay on all of that? We'll move on to insurance. You'll get your Trupanion code on Friday, because you cannot activate your insurance until 24 hours before your pup goes home. And you'll get some other documentation as well, including your contract. Whether you should get insurance or not is obviously a personal decision. The amount it costs depends on your postal code and your deductible amount that you choose. Regardless of whether you decide to get insurance or not, and regardless of whether you choose to remain with Trupanion or not, we do require that you activate the 30 days free. Trupanion is very good. If you tell them no, thank you, they will not bother you again in the future. We do not get anything from Trupanion. We are not affiliated with them at all. And I can tell you that Reynolds and I do not have insurance on our dogs. Part of that is because they were breeding dogs, which makes the premium over $3,000 a month, which is a little out of my budget. What we have is a savings account for our dogs. What I tell everybody is if you have easy access to $10,000 and you're not going to be upset that you spent it and you can replenish that 10,000, you don't need dog insurance. If, however, you do not have easy access to 10,000 or it's not easy for you to put back, then I would recommend that you do get insurance. Over the 30 days of free time or between now and Saturday, just take some time to Google all the different Canadian options and see what the differences are. Every company offers something slightly different. Costco has one. I know many of our families like it. It's about, I think it's about $20 or $30 a month less than Trupanion. But it has a limit and you pick the limit as to how much you get paid out. So for instance, my dog Checkers, and this is 7 years ago now, he had cancer. And had we chosen to have him have chemotherapy, it would have cost $8,500 a treatment, including we had to get to Burnaby from the island. If we'd had Trupanion, we would have paid our deductible and they would have covered all the other costs up to 90%. And there would be no limit on that. If your dog had medical treatment that required $250,000, you'd get the $250,000. Whereas if you have the Costco one, you'd be limited to whatever amount you chose as your maximum payout. And the Costco one, I think you pay the vet upfront and then Costco reimburses you. That's the only one I really know anything about besides Trupanion. There's another one called, I think it's Pet Secure. And Fetch is another one, but Fetch might actually be the Costco name. I
Yeah, Costco bought Fetch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Costco bought out Fetch. So just take a look through, read their websites. Remember, of course, that, you know, there's lots of marketing in there and decide what's comfortable for you and where you're comfortable. If you're really risk adverse, you'll probably want to go with Trupanion. If you are not as risk adverse and have access to money if something happens, then you may choose not to have any insurance. The reason why we require you to get the free 30 days is because we've had many dogs who on their way home after pickup have been a little squirmy. People aren't used to them yet and the dog's fallen, broken its leg, or other things like that. And the last thing we want is for you to be faced with some enormous vet bill right the day after you get your puppy. So take that free 30 days. If you do stick with Trupanion, your puppy goes on to have no pre-existing conditions. If you switch to another one, if anything at all comes up in the 30 days, then whatever that issue is will be declined to be covered by your future insurer. Any questions on insurance? No, everybody okay? All right. Trainers, has everybody got their dog lined up for training to start? I know you do, Dana, Richard and Chris, good, Grace and Maria. Have you got your trainer lined up? Good, and Sarah?
Yeah, she's using me.
Oh, she's using
Yeah.
Taylor. Taylor's so poor though, you might need another one.
Hey.
I just kidding. Oh. You got a Chris?
Yeah, so we already registered her for a class.
Yeah.
And we all wanna ask like for puppy socials, it's like not class, right? But just for social time, is it okay if we do that like before the class, right after we bring her home? I think because like our class start on the 8th of February. And if we can bring her to like one social time before the class. Do you think it's okay?
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. And Jasmine and Ryan, have you got Winston signed up?
Yes, we do.
Great. Go ahead, Sarah. You just have to unmute yourself. Just the little far left at the very bottom.
Reynold, if you click that button again, it'll pop up on her screen and she just has to hit okay.
No, you should get a message. There you
Yeah, I
go.
got it now. Now I've forgotten what I was going to say. So you are saying that I'm ready with Taylor for Head Start. That's the first training program, right?
No,
No.
so this is after Monty goes home. We're gonna work together. I'm gonna bring my puppy and there's another puppy and we're gonna all get together. It's just so that Monty is still getting social time, playing with other dogs and building his confidence. So it's
Okay.
before he starts to learn all his manners, like sit, stay, wait, those kinds of things. It's mostly just so he still gets exposure in a safe manner.
Okay. And how many of those sessions am I signed up for, and how much do they cost?
We're gonna do 4 sessions and the price is to be determined. I just have to speak with the other woman still. But it'll be probably around 150 for you.
For all 4 sessions, or are you saying for each?
No, for all 4. Yeah.
Phew, good.
If it was each session, that would be my job.
And that will happen after you finish with the Head Start part.
Yes, so it'll be probably a week after you get Monty.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Then you could probably just mute her again. What Richard and Chris were asking there about puppy socials, those are fantastic things to do. One thing that's really key is to have play dates or go to puppy social sessions. Whenever I get an email from somebody saying, my puppy isn't sleeping well at night, my puppy's biting me too much, it's 99.9% of the time because the puppy is not having any time with other puppies. Puppies or dogs, you may not be able to find other puppies. If you can find other puppies, that's the absolute best thing. If you can't find other puppies, if you can find a dog, that's what you need. Play dates are really, really key because puppies teach each other far more than we can teach them. And that's how dogs learn, best learn bite inhibition. So when the puppies are all together now, they're teaching each other bite inhibition every day. So when they go and they play with each other, there's lots of cries and whimpers. And you'll see sometimes one of the puppies will be down and they'll be kind of like, oh my God, I'm being killed. And you think, oh, what's going on? And they're never being killed. But that's how the dog who's on top or the dog who's the bossy one at that moment learns, okay, that's way too much pressure. I can't bite that hard. So that's why we always tell you when your puppy is biting you so like Taylor right now, Winston's biting her. She's not going to fling her hand away. She's going to go just like, see how he stopped immediately? Because it somewhat sounds like a puppy when they cry. So you want to do your best to mimic what a puppy sounds like when they cry. So for you men in the room, you're going to have to practice your falsetto voices there so that you have a little bit of a higher pitch. You also going to want to practice your falsettos for getting your puppy's attention. So right now, you see nobody's listening to me because I'm talking like a normal person. And Reynold, can you just back up a bit to show them all there? And now I'm gonna go. And see, I get everybody looking at me immediately. And it's the high voice that they respond to. So all you men, practice, and who knows, maybe you'll find that you have a singing career or something because you have a really good falsetto voice. Okay, moving on to exercise. exercise for the puppies. What this needs to be is short, frequent amounts. Walks should be around 15 minutes right now. Go for 2 or 3 a day. You can go for 4 if you want. Just make sure they're only very short, 15-minute ones. And then you can add 5 minutes for each month as they get older, until they're 6 months old, and then you don't have to limit how long you're walking with them. Going up hills are fine. The thing you want to avoid is things like stairs. You don't want to do anything repetitive, so that's why the walk is limited to 15 minutes. So no repetitive running or swimming or anything, and if puppies are playing together or they're playing with other dogs, then it's totally fine to leave them unattended. You do not stop them from doing that because they will moderate themselves.
Sunshine is actually watching everybody on the screen, so
Yeah.
he's just staring. It looks like he's not because it's a different camera angle, but he's staring directly at the TV.
Yeah, he's watching all of you, he's looking at you, and he does like to have a pillow, as you can see, which is a common thing for the ALD breed. So again, the same thing, only on a harness. Everything you need for walking and exercising your dog properly is in your puppy starter kit. All the different leashes, the proper harness, your poop bag holder, your treat bag, everything that you're going to need. When you go walking with your dog, you cannot take them from your house, and let's say we're gonna take Sunshine and Monty for a walk. So Sunshine and Monty are all curled up together right now. They're snuggled up, they're sleeping, and let's say we decide it's time to go for a walk. Well, we can't wake up Sunshine and Monty and say, okay, let's go for a walk, put their harness on, put their leash on, and expect them to walk well beside us. This will not happen. I don't even do that with my own dogs, except for Spirit, she's unique. But for Ripple, for instance, I have to let her out for 10 minutes before we're going anywhere. She runs around like an idiot and she jumps up in the air and she gets all excited and goes, oh, we're gonna go for a walk, whoop, whoop, whoop. Hi, Gail Monty. She'll squeak at me or do something silly. So I just let her do that in the backyard. I leave her by herself, and then I get myself ready, get all my stuff organized. Then I clip the leash on. And the first leash that goes on is the long line that you'll find in your puppy starter kit. Because you want to let your puppy go ziggy-zaggy, exploring, stopping, starting, sniffing, because that's what a walk is for a dog. So you want to start off with the walk for the dog. We're not there to exercise you, and we're not there for them to get the physical exercise. They get plenty of that playing at home as a puppy. We want them to be using their mind and getting mental stimulation and satisfaction. So you want them to go on a sniffari. Obviously, if you live in an urban area, you're not going to give them the full 50 feet of or 30 feet of the long line. If there's traffic nearby, you're gonna need to find a park or something where you can let them stroll about a bit, or the beach. The beach is a great place. There's all sorts of wonderful things to smell on the beach. But you want them to have that freedom, and you want them to always be feeling they have some ownership in the decisions made in their lives, so that you're not controlling every single decision and action for them. Let them have some sense of their own selves. And then when you're halfway through your walk, you can use the same long line. I just usually use the same long line. I just shorten it up and make it a normal 6-foot leash. And that's when you start working on having them walk a little bit closer to you. As babies, they're not going to walk by your side and sit when you stop and do everything perfectly. That's going to take several months to get to. What you're going to want to achieve in this is simply that they're near you and they're paying attention to you and being a little bit more focused and walking in something of a straight line. This is not your time for exercise, though. This is the time for your puppy to be happy, to be relaxed. When they're happy, relaxed, and fulfilled, they'll go to the bathroom, which is probably one of your objectives while you're out on your walk. So just make that, keep that in mind always. 15 minutes of sniffing for a dog of any age is equivalent to 45 minutes of physical exercise in terms of tiring them out and providing them with satisfaction in their lives. So we can take our dogs out and just go around our cul-de-sac, and it takes us about 20 minutes, roughly speaking. We can bring them in and they'll be conked out for, if we do that, say, right after lunch, they'll be conked out till dinner time. Richard, go ahead, Chris. Sorry, Chris.
So, we live near a park, right? It's not a dog park, but there are dogs that plays there. Is it safe to bring her there? Like, if she will be on a leash, because like you said, right, she needs to go out and then like probably on a long leash, it will be safer because that's a very huge park near to us.
Yeah, now, this is one of the things where I say about using your common sense. The chances of her picking up some deadly disease is pretty rare. But you do want to take precautions in that. Kind of scout out the general area, make sure it's not covered in poop. And then check her feet. Make sure you have wipes with you so you can wipe her feet off in case she does happen to walk through some poop and get poop on her feet. And then when you get home, just give her feet a little light wash. You don't need to do any antiseptic thing or anything, just a little squirt of shampoo. This is in the starter kit, you have dry shampoo you can use for this. Just a little squirt of dry shampoo is the easiest, and it doesn't entail having to go in a sink or a bathtub. Wash their feet off, dry them off with a towel, and then you're good to go. So yeah, if you have a nice park nearby, terrific. That's gonna be ideal. She's gonna be thrilled. And you just want to make sure that you're just using common sense really is all you need to do.
And
Okay.
probably this is not for you, but for Hi Grace. I think you're in Lower Mainland, right? And if you ever want to have a
Yeah.
date, yeah, we can switch contacts. Probably we can.
Yeah, for sure.
I will send both of you an email so you have one another's emails and you can get in touch. Because
Thank
it
you.
would
Yeah.
be terrific for you guys to have play dates with one another. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And Sarah's already hooked up with Taylor and Beckett, so you're there, Jasmine and Brian. Taylor can give you some names of families that have puppies who will be gentle enough to play with Winston.
I'll get you in contact with, her name's Colleen Irwin. And she, her place is where I have been running all my puppy classes, and she has a ton of play dates over there, and all those dogs are safe too. And Winston is a very outgoing little guy already, so he will love meeting all the new friends that he can. So I'll make sure I get you in contact with Colleen.
Okay, next is
Oh, thank you.
sleeping.
So sorry. I was
No
just
worries.
talking up.
Oh, that's okay. Next is sleeping and alone time. Taylor can talk about that. You're probably tired of listening to me now.
So all 5 puppies that are in Head Start are doing beautifully in the crates. I still have a couple videos I have to upload. So Sarah and Grace, you haven't seen videos of your kiddos, but rest assured they're doing great. Monty had a bit of a unique situation. So he's not a bad puppy. He's just more sensitive in terms of his surroundings. So with him, I actually had to bring him down here in the family room where he was separated from his siblings. Once he was separated and couldn't hear them, he went right to sleep like a good boy. But for him, he just didn't like being able to hear his siblings playing in the background because he felt he was missing out. They're all sleeping super well, but the key is before you put them in their crate for bedtime, to make sure they are ready for bed. So if you are going to bed at 10:30 at night, you need to start getting them ready for bed around 9:30. This is when your most vigorous, hard play of the day needs to happen. This is when you're going to want to wrestle on the ground with them, play a game of tug of war, throw some toys around for them, really be involved and interactive. Once they have had their play, let them settle on their own. Once they are settled a little bit, you want to take them outside for their last potty break, and you want to put them right into their crate after that. For those of you that have this wonderful idea of wanting your puppy on your bed for snuggles before they're in their crate, I am highly against that in terms of crate training. It will teach them that being on the bed is better than in the crate, and they will scream at you until you give them what they want. So this is where the ALD brain is a bit tricky because they are trying to train us. So we just have to be very firm with it. Whoever is responsible for the dog during the night, if they do need to go out at any point, the crate needs to be on your side of the bed within an arm's length of reach. All your puppies are currently being covered by a blanket while they are in their crate. But that's totally up to you. If it's a dark environment as is, they don't need a blanket, they'll sleep right through. The one other thing is, if your puppy squeaks a little bit during the night, don't automatically assume they need to go out to the bathroom. This is likely them asking you for a check-in and some reassurance. So all that takes is a little tap on the crate door, put your fingers through the metal, and just say, hey, I'm here. You're good, you're good. If they settle, great. If they continue to go and it's amplified, wait for that split second of quiet, take them out right to the bathroom. If you do take them out of the crate, they will go to the bathroom regardless if they actually have to go or not. It's just how their little bodies work. But these guys should be good to be sleeping from about 10:30 till 6:30, no problem. And then first thing in the morning, you want to pick them up and carry them right to their potty spot. Otherwise, they will go on your floor, and that's not going to be fun to clean up sometimes. In terms of alone time, we don't want to be leaving them alone for the first 7 to 10 days that we have the puppies. So they need to have a secure bond with you before we try and leave them. So this is where your X-Pen comes in handy. If you are not supervising them, they're in the X-Pen, not the crate. The crate is for bedtime only. So any naps during the day that you want them in their pen, they can go in the pen with their donut bed, some chew sticks, some toys. But for the first 7 to 10 days, you don't have to worry about trying to leave them alone. If you are retired and you don't leave the house often, find an excuse to go out. It is essential that we do leave our puppies alone so we can continue to build their confidence and that they're able to function while they're alone, because we don't want a 6-month puppy, old puppy, being left for the first time and screaming or ripping up the house because they haven't been left early enough. When you are starting to leave them, just short periods of time at first. So have them in the pen, and you can even sit as far away as Claire is, so not far. You can see them, you can hear them if they are distressed. And the same rule of thumb for in the pen. If you want them to have alone time, make sure they are ready for a nap. Have a big play, go for a couple walks, make sure they are nice and tired and ready to be left alone. An energized puppy in an enclosed environment is typically not a happy puppy. So that's one thing that we always want to keep in mind.
When you're working from home, same thing. Before you start your work day, you want to make sure you've got the X-Pen toys, everything all set up. Then take your puppy out for a walk, and go for, oh, look at Montana gets the He peed on the pee pad. This is one thing, pee pads in the house. When you get home, roll up, make sure you rolled up all your mats, area rugs, because they'll go to the bathroom on them if you don't. Put a pee pad near the door that you're using to go out. Richard and Chris at the door out to your balcony. So in case for some reason you aren't able to open the door and get them out when they need to go, they will use the pee pad. When you take them home, they're going to need to go out every 45 minutes to an hour when they are awake. Sometimes when we're at work and we have our puppy, we may be on a Zoom call or doing something at work and we can't let them out. In which case you want to make sure you have a pee pad set up in the X-Pen.
Oh, okay.
The most favorite toy for a puppy is a pee pad. So you'll probably want to get some bricks to hold it in place. Or you can get trays that the pee pads actually clip into at pet stores like PetSmart, Bosley's, Pet Value, any of those types of things. You can get one of those trays to use in the X pen or even at the door. Because all puppies find the pee pads to be the best toy that there ever was.
They're also really nice beds. Sunshine seems to love it as well.
No, don't steal the toys. I'm just letting my big dogs in because they were scratching at the door, so now they'll come and try and steal all the puppies' sticks. Especially Peanut, bad dog. So you can see what I mean, how they all come over, they all gravitate between the big dogs because they're ever hopeful that one of them might have a milk bar there available. And they're always like, oh, those miserable old dogs. Peanut, no. So just have that, make sure before you start work, and particularly if you have a call, that you take them out for a good place so they're tired. And not going to be causing you any distraction while you're trying to work. Richard and Chris, you had a question?
So, is it okay to have like a waterproof mat under the playpen?
Oh,
For
yeah,
the playpen? Okay.
yeah, no problem at all.
And then we have question as well. Taylor mentioned about videos of the Head Start. Where can we see that, Taylor, for the
They're on the owner's group.
On the community page.
Yeah.
they're on the community page? Okay, I'll check the community page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. And you do want to have your puppy sleeping in their crate beside you in the bedroom for the first 6 months. After their 6 months, you're going to be confident that they are fully house trained. And then you can take the door off the crate and let them decide where they want to sleep. And if you want them to sleep on the bed with you, then that's totally fine. We let our dogs decide where they want to sleep. We have a crate, we have donut beds, and we have obviously our bed. And they switch back and forth between them all. Only Peanut doesn't sleep on our bed with us. Spirit and Ripple take turns being on the bed, or they're both on the bed. And usually the thing that they argue over the most is who gets to sleep in the crate. Puppies who are raised with their crate properly love their crate and love their crate for life. And one of the main benefits of crate training is if anything happens to your puppy, or even when they go get spayed and neutered, they're going to be in a crate at the vet clinic, and you don't want them to be uncomfortable. They're already stressed because they're at the vet, so you don't want them to be further stressed because they're not used to being in a crate. So that is another reason for making sure you always have the crate around. And you don't have to ever buy another crate other than the one that comes home with you in the puppy starter kit. The worst thing you can do is use a crate that's the wrong size for your dog. Okay, grooming. We had lots of questions on grooming. No bathing your dog unless it's absolutely necessary. Puppies have very sensitive skin that can easily become irritated and dry. Stop that. So we do not want to bath them unless some disaster occurs and you have to bath them. The first trip to the groomer should be just to get their eyes trimmed, a sandy trim on their bum, and their nails clipped. And you want to do that around 10 to 12 weeks. This one, you will bring your crate and your puppy blanket, and your puppy's paws will not touch the ground at the groomer because they will not have their full immunity. They don't need a bath yet at this time. And then their first bath should be just after they get their full immunity. So just after their, say around week 14, and then you will take them in for what's called a puppy clip. Please don't try to groom your dog yourself, especially do not try to trim their eyes. Puppies are highly squirmy. It's a very high level skill to properly groom an ALD. Clipping around the eyes, I don't even like to do it. I do it occasionally, and not on puppies though. I'll do it on my adult dogs if I have to, but not on puppies. It is way too easy to have a wreck, and you don't want to be poking scissors in your puppy's eyes. Ear plucking is something we recommend that the puppies that you don't have done. Some ALDs have exceptionally hairy ears, and if they have continual issues, then that may be a time when they do need to have them plucked. Peanut has had her ears plucked because she has very hairy ears. Raisin, Taylor's dog, also had his ears plucked, but generally speaking, you are not going to want to pluck the ears. So make sure your owner knows how to do that. Monty giving us theme song there. So that's the timing for the grooming. I think that's everything. If you are out walking and you want to wash your dog's feet because you want to keep their feet clean, use the dry shampoo that comes in your puppy starter kit. Anybody got any questions on, and frequency? You want to have your puppy groomed at least once every 8 weeks. And you at home, you want to be sure you use the proper brush and comb. If you don't use the proper brush and comb, you're going to run into endless trouble. So you want to use the proper brush and brush and comb your dog every day to every other day. Now, because I usually have puppies, this year it will be different because we're sort of retired. But in the past, when we always had puppies, I didn't have time to brush and comb our 3 dogs on a regular basis. So our dogs have been going every 4 weeks to be groomed. And you all have seen my dogs, you know they're clipped up short. I keep them clipped up short to make it easier to maintain their coats as well. Now that we're sort of retired, I will increase that so that they go to get their hair done once every 6 weeks. Brushing and combing your dog usually at night is a really good thing. ALDs love to be touched. And so it's a really great way to have time to bond with your puppy and spend time enjoying the process together. There we go, there's Monty. He just wanted a little daddy time with Reynolds. He said, yeah, why weren't you picking me up?
Claire?
Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna have a question. So you say no bathing until they have the full vaccine unless necessary. Can you give us an example of what's necessary
If you take them outside and they roll around in
on the
something
mud? Okay.
dead and they're really, really stinky,
Mm.
sometimes they may eat something that makes them have a little bit more of a runny poop and they just need a bum wash.
Okay.
Or, if they're outside and it's pouring rain and they do 100 rolls around in mud. So just the super, super necessary points. Because like Claire said, they do have very dry skin. So for example, my puppy's 4 months old now. She's only had 1 bath. And that was the one that she had when she came home. She's scheduled for her first groom on February 4th. She is fully vaccinated now. And that's just trying to keep it as minimal as possible.
And how about nails?
Every 4 weeks.
Nails.
If you're not comfortable doing your puppy's nails, you can go to your vet or you can go to your groomer to have them done. There is a video on our YouTube channel that shows you how to trim nails. If you just search for trimming nails, you'll find it. It's not hard, but when your puppy has black nails, it can be a little challenging and you do not want to be doing it and cutting through to the quick and making them bleed. Your puppy will be not fond of getting their nails clipped after that. So if you're not confident doing it, get your groomer or your vet to do it.
I think mostly all of these ones have white or clear nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all white or clear, so they're quite easy to see. Where's Monty?
Right there.
Come here, buddy.
I think these are maybe black.
His are like a tan.
Yeah, okay, so everybody, it'll be easy to see where the clip is. So what you do is you just watch the video, it'll show you, but the white, just like your fingernail, the white part is dead, the pink part is alive. So you want to make sure you're always cutting on the dead part. and you're just taking the tip off. And there's a little ridge that when you get used to it, you'll feel the little ridge in the nail that your clipper will just fit right into. I love you too. You can even when they're this little and you're getting used to it and wanting to feel more comfortable with it, just use human clippers instead of the dog clippers. And then you'll get the hang of it a bit more and feel a little bit more secure.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, next thing we're gonna talk about is nutrition. So I know nobody here, I don't believe anybody here has fed raw before. Dana, you didn't feed raw before, did you?
At the beginning, we fed raw, and then the vets, he had a couple bouts of diarrhea, and the vets were saying it was because of raw, which now I know it probably wasn't. But of course, they put him on antibiotics. Then we had more problems. So we switched to kibble. So I am totally with you on never feeding kibble, because I don't think it was good for his health all through his life.
All right, so raw is not more complicated than feeding kibble. It maybe takes you an extra 20 seconds of thought, but that's it. It's really not complicated. Now, when Dana was saying her vet didn't like raw food and thought there's a lot of vets who, if your dog sneezes, will say, oh, it's because you're not feeding them kibble. And that's because vets do not get trained in nutrition. It's just like if you go to see a heart surgeon and he gives you advice about what your diet should be to lose weight so you don't have another heart attack. Yeah, they know that you shouldn't be overweight, but they have no idea how to produce a proper balanced diet for you. That's a dietitian's role. It's the same thing with your dog. You need a canine nutritionist to help you determine what your dog should and shouldn't eat. There's an internet myth out there, and many vets also believe this myth, as do many people, that raw food is teeming with bacteria and everyone's going to get sick and die. So I've been feeding raw food since 1981. I have raised children, grandchildren, immune compromised people have worked for me. I had a mother who was immune compromised who lived with us, and every single one of them is alive and well and has never been sick from anything related to any type of raw dog food. And that's because raw dog food does not actually have bacteria if you buy it from the proper supplier. So the ones we use a process called HPP, which is high pressure pasteurization. It kills all the bacteria in the food. If you take a package of Big Country raw chicken and you take a package of chicken breasts from any grocery store and you go to have them analyzed by a lab, the human food will be absolutely crawling with bacteria because it's going to be cooked before it's consumed. Whereas the dog food will have zero bacteria because it has all been removed and killed by the HPP process. Now, the downside to this is when you use HPP, all good bacteria is also eliminated from the food. So this is why we have to add some things back into raw dog food, because the regulations, this is the only area of dog world where anything's regulated. The regulations do to have that certification mean that everything is killed. When you feed freeze-dried food, the freeze-drying process eliminates all the bacteria. When your dog eats kibble and they put a piece of kibble in their mouth and it shatters in their mouth, they can't chew. Dogs can't actually chew because their jaws cannot move side to side. They can only move front to back. Dogs are not designed to chew food. They're designed to rip and tear and swallow big hunks of food and bone. But when you put kibble in their mouths and they close their jaws, the piece of kibble shatters. It automatically, instantly turns to sugar and creates bacteria in their mouths because dogs do not have amylase in their mouths. Dogs have amylase in their pancreas. And they only develop that as a result of domestication, because dogs are not designed to eat any starches or any grains or sugars, essentially. So when a dog eats a piece of kibble, their mouth is full of bacteria. Bacteria forms instantly. So if a dog licks you after eating kibble, you're getting bacteria. When they eat kibble, there is a bacteria in their mouth because there is no sugar being produced in their mouths. Do I like my dog to lick me after they eat raw dog food? Oh no, not really. Not on my tongue anyways. Have they? Many hundreds of times. But I prefer to miss that. So I don't put my face anywhere near my dogs right after they've eaten. I wait for a few minutes. But just so you know that raw dog food is not dangerous. It is not going to be any health risk whatsoever. You do, of course, want to handle it just like you do your own food. You wash your utensils, you wash their bowls, you wash the counter, and you wash your hands after you prepare it. You don't touch it all and mix it together with your fingers and then put your fingers in your mouth. That is not recommended. So just using common sense is all you have to do there. But it's not more difficult in terms of how to figure it out. So just like when you get a bag of kibble, it will say if your dog is this age and this weight, here's how much you feed it. It's basically the same thing for raw food. The only difference is you're going to weigh your dog initially for the first few months every week. You're going to know how much they weigh, and then it's a percentage of their body weight is how much they eat. All of this will be in the instructions in your food box. It will have how to figure out how much to feed your dog for your dog's entire life. It's very easy, it's very straightforward. And to weigh your dog, all you have to do is pick them up, stand on the scale, then stand on the scale yourself without the dog, subtract the bigger weight from the lesser weight, and that's how much your dog weighs. It's really simple to work it out. The other thing is to be feeding them proper food that is properly balanced and complete. Raw dog food suppliers are no different than kibble ones. They all have vast marketing schemes. They all say all sorts of things and make all sorts of claims that 9 times out of 10 are exaggerated or entirely untrue. So there's very few actual raw foods that pre-made raw foods that are complete and balanced and not made that way synthetically. One of the questions was whether Stella and Chewy's could be used, and the answer is no. Only the products that are on the list in the contract are acceptable. And the reason why Stella and Chewy's is not acceptable is in order for it to be complete and balanced, it has the same synthetic cocktail of vitamins and minerals as kibble uses. This synthetic cocktail generally causes a lot of flare-ups of yeast and other issues in ALDs. So you'll end up with a dog who has impacted anal glands, ear infections, chews their feet, and has eye issues. So that's why, Peanut, stop it. Peanut's trying to push the whole thing in so she can get at the thing there.
We really like a bit.
So that's why Stella and Chewy's is not on the approved list. All the ones that we have on the approved list are all things that are natural, good for your dogs. The 2 best foods that are on there are Puppy Love and Steve's. And the reason for that is because they are completely natural. The Steve's is the best one, however, Steve's is American, so it's highly expensive. My dogs get to eat Steve's, but they eat Steve's about maybe 20% of their diet because it's so expensive. They eat Puppy Love a lot because it is made in Canada. It's an excellent food. Now your guys actually are eating Puppy Love. Lots of times we have puppies this age who don't like freeze-dried. So all of you who get a food box will get some Puppy Love in your food box, and they are already enjoying it. It just does take them a bit longer when they are eating the freeze-dried, just because it's more work for them. And this is why they prefer the frozen raw over freeze-dried, even as an adult, because it's more effort for them to have to eat the freeze-dried than the frozen raw. Plus the frozen raw is more like having a steak instead of cereal. And all of us would probably like to have a steak instead of cereal, unless we're vegans. Hope nobody's a vegan. Yeah, Sarah, you got a question?
Yes, when you read the lady's book, what's her name? Anyway, when you read the book, she says in the first week you will not be feeding your dog any food in a bowl. You will just be doing everything by kibble so that he learns to follow your instructions and be a good dog. Is that
Yeah,
what you recommend too?
No, you absolutely cannot do that with an ALD. You'll end up with a dog who never eats. ALDs are extremely fussy eaters. They are interested in praise and human contact, and they are not interested in eating, except for Peanut. Every now and then you'll get one who is interested in food, so no. What we want you to do, and I was just getting to that, is you need to make your own schedule. So you're feeding your dog 3 times a day and you keep at a consistent time and place. You want the food dish to be somewhere that's fairly quiet. If you have children, other pets, somewhere removed from them, somewhere where you can be nearby so that they aren't concerned that they can't see you. And this is the time when you want to maybe scroll through your phone, get caught up on emails. So you're there, but you're not looking at your dog, you're not interacting with them. And you want to have the food down for 15 minutes at the designated time. If they don't eat it, it gets picked up and put away. Your dog will not starve themselves. Do not worry if they do not eat a few meals. Do not be concerned. If you start catering to them and going, oh my goodness, you haven't eaten, and you sit down and you feed it to them by hand, or you put it on some, I don't know, fancy china or whatever, you're just creating a monster and you're creating a huge problem for yourself. Cause it'll take you forever to change that habit. The food goes down, they already have this now, their food goes down, they have 15 minutes to eat it. Lots of times they get distracted, they go out the doggy door, or somebody does something and they quit eating. Sucks to be you, you are gonna be hungry, and boy, I tell you, when it's lunchtime or whatever the next meal, they gobble it right up. Same as if we give them something and they go, no, I don't think I feel like that today. Too bad, that's what's on the menu, this is what you're eating. And if you don't eat it, it goes back in the fridge and you get it again the next time. It's really important to be consistent and firm and not have the puppy train you. You gotta remember, you're the one with the opposable thumbs and the bigger brain. And you're the one who's in charge of making sure the dog is healthy, because the dog is going to choose to just eat liver treats, which if that happened, they would kill themselves. So it's your job to be the tough cookie. And it's good practice for not letting them push you around, because they are very clever. And everybody says, oh, I really want an ALD because they're so intelligent and they're easy to train. Yes, they learn very easily, but the more intelligent the dog, the harder it is that you have to work, because they will out-train you. They will be working on you the minute you walk out this door. They work on all 3 of us every minute of every day, trying to get their way all the time, and they know how to bat their eyelashes. They know how to tilt their head, and they know how to go and get you to do things their way. So don't be a softie. Of course, I want you to love them, but you have to be very firm and consistent.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Oh, sorry, Grace.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you take out the food, do you also take out the water?
No, you always leave water out.
Okay.
Water out. Okay.
Yeah.
So the water, is it going to be in the X pan or is it
Yep, you're gonna have water available to your puppy at all times.
okay? What about treats? Do you have any approved treats or something like that? Or treats is something that is more lax or something like that?
Nope, all the treats that are approved will be in the food box. If you decide not to get the food box, I will ask you to provide me with your receipt from what you purchased for food. And I'll tell you which treats are approved if you're going shopping. And I'll ask you to explain to me how you're going to rotate the food and calculate how to feed them properly, just so I'm assured you know what you're doing. Grace, I think you asked me about bowls. Yes, your bowls do come in your PSK. There are bowls included, so it's a double bowl, it's stainless steel, and it's on a silicone mat so they don't slip and everything can go in the dishwasher.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
as we are in the topic of the food box, I think you mentioned that the food box price will be based on the puppy, right? Are you going to let us know? Because you said we have to order 10 days before we pick up the puppies, right? So,
No, that was the puppy starter kit.
okay.
You can let me know after we finish the Zoom today, now that, because we're going through the food box. If you would like one, you can buy 1 month or 2 month. Dana, you were asking me how big it was, so you knew how big to put it in your friend's freezer. The frozen portion will be in a box that Reynolds is about, is it gonna be 10 by 10?
If it's 1 month, it'll be 10 by 12, 12 by 10 by 8.
So the box is 12 by 10 by 8 for a 1 month supply. Cause these guys are little, they don't need a whole lot of frozen, and they will get freeze dried in the food box. You will get some puppy love in there. So you can have a 1 month or a 2 month. It'll be really easy to make 2 months for these guys, cause 1 bag of puppy love makes 7 pounds of raw, and 7 pounds of raw is going to last a little kids like these for quite a while. So what they're eating right now is roughly around 8% of their body weight, and they were on average about 2.5 kilograms. Is that right, Mel? You remember? Yeah, so last time when we weighed them, they were about 2.5 kilograms. We'll weigh them again after you tell me if you want a food box or not. And it will have everything in it. So that frozen part, Dana, includes bones and everything. With the frozen bones, what these guys will have is chicken wing tips. One thing to keep in mind is never ever to feed your dog bones from a butcher or a grocery store. The reason for that is the food is not prepared so that it is bacteria free, and there is bacteria on human food that can make your dog sick. The other thing is the methodology used to cut the bones is different for humans than dogs. So you want to only buy your bones from from a retailer that specializes in raw dog food, not a butcher, and not a butcher who sells raw dog food. Because raw dog food from a butcher is all the stuff that falls on the floor, all mushed together into a patty. It's one of the worst things you can feed your dog. But the bones are really important so that you don't have any risk to your dog. Your dog can eat any type of bone as long as it's raw. But there's some limitations in that, which you don't need to worry about for now. For right now, they're eating chicken wing tips. When they eat them, they may swallow them whole. This freaks everybody out because they think, oh my goodness, the dog's gonna die, it's gonna choke to death. Sometimes they will gag, and sometimes they'll spit them out. Sounds really gross. Just look away, let them eat it after they've done that. Just don't look. If it makes you gag, just do it somewhere where you're not looking. This is natural. This helps them to digest it properly. If they swallow it whole and they don't spit it back up, don't worry. When dogs eat normal food like this, their stomach environment is hugely acidic and it breaks the bone down. So this is why dogs, when they eat a raw diet, they have their natural environment. So if they were not normal dogs, if they were out in nature and they didn't have humans looking after them, they'd wander around and walk around and they'd find a rabbit and kill it and they would eat the whole thing. And so bones obviously being part of that. So they're completely designed to eat them. So not to be alarmed, not to be worried about that. And that is one of the gross things that dogs sometimes do. Just try not to look at it. When I got my very first dog and started feeding raw and they did that, I was so grossed out. Now I completely doesn't bother me anymore. Avian flu is something that is in the news a lot. HPP kills avian flu supposedly. If you're worried about so we only deal with manufacturers who use HPP. So I am feeding my dogs chicken, turkey, and I am not concerned. Is there a risk? Yep, there's always going to be a risk. But as long as I'm eating chicken, I'm not worried about my dogs eating chicken. There is one reported case of one dog getting avian flu, and that dog actually was ate a chicken. He not manufactured dog food. So, and there is the one child in British Columbia who contracted avian flu. But as far as I know and understand, and I will keep all of you updated, it is nothing that we need to be particularly concerned about at this point in time. Grains, sometimes you will have somebody or your vet say, oh my gosh, your dog has to eat grains or they're going to get heart disease. That is another myth. Dogs are not designed to eat grains. They should indeed never eat grains. And that original scare has been debunked a million times over now. That would be somebody who is not up to date. It's been years now since that grain-free myth came out. That was a marketing ploy by some kibble manufacturers. If you want to know more about that, let me know. I'll send you the scientific results that debunk that little bit of marketing. Vets and raw. Why do vets not like raw food? The main reason is because up until recently, vets were only seeing dogs who were being fed a DIY diet. It is extremely difficult to DIY raw food. I've done it, I've tried to do it, and convinced myself quite 100% since I got certified as a nutritionist that there is no way I can do it properly. So I quit doing it. It is very hard to find food that is properly done. So what do vets see? Vets see sick dogs and cats. And so they see dogs whose parents have done a DIY, or they bought some cheap one of the cheap ones that you'll see, particularly in the lower mainland, is called Crudo. It's absolute garbage. It's worse than kibble in my opinion, but it's really inexpensive. And a lot of dogs who get sick have been eating that diet, and this is what this is what vets see, so of course they conclude that raw must not be good. Raw is becoming far more mainstream now. Vets are changing, so it's less pushback. If your vet is very anti-raw, just say, sorry, that's what my puppy's been weaned to, I'm gonna give it a try, and leave it at that. If you've got a vet who seems to be open, try educating them. Our vets, none of them were in favor of raw when they got us as clients. Now they refer their patients to me for food planning, if they're having skin issues or other problems. Taylor's got a dog that she got as a rescue 12 years ago. 12, am I right? 11 years ago.
Mhm.
She was really overweight. She switched her off with kibble onto puppy love. That's all she eats is puppy love, freeze dried. And now she's got a waist. She can go hiking. She can jump. She
lost 35 pounds.
Yeah, she lost 35 pounds. I'm beginning to think I should eat puppy love. And if there is an earthquake and you have puppy love, you actually can eat it. None of the other ones. But if you find yourself in an emergency with no food, you could eat puppy love. For treats, the main thing to remember is tiny, tiny, tiny bits. All the treats you're going to get are soft, well, not all of them, but most of them are soft. You can break them into little smidges. You only need a third the size of your baby fingernail. They just need a little taste. And you just get it so their tongue tastes it. That's all you need. You don't need to give some great big huge treat. You don't want to give too many because they will get diarrhea. Treats are rich, they love them, of course, and you don't want to go overboard on the liver treats. Brushing teeth, no need to do that. The bones are nature's toothbrush and work much better. You don't see dogs or coyotes or wolves out with toothbrushes. Your dog does not need their toothbrush if they're eating a natural diet. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, I'm doing it on my phone. It's hard. What's the best thing to put in the Kong?
I don't know. I don't use those ever. The best thing is to give them bully sticks, and junior ribbon chews and a bone to chew on. Kongs are made out of plastic and latex, which some dogs can have an allergy to, so I don't ever use them. You could use peanut butter though, you just have to make sure there's no xylitol in the peanut butter.
From a training perspective, I truly don't recommend Kongs because puppies get really frustrated if they're trying to chew on something and they're not getting the enrichment or benefits from that chew. So if there's something inside a Kong and a puppy can't get it out easily, they're going to get really frustrated and then kind of act out on that. So that's why bully sticks are the absolute best. And through Curated Canines, you can get a bunch of different shapes, a bunch of different sizes. So I always recommend if they're having quiet time or alone time in their pen, a longer lasting chew such as a junior cane or one of the ribbon chews, something that is a bit different than just the straight little mini bully sticks. And it's a bit of a change. You can also use pig ears, or what else do we have? What other kind of ears? Are they buffalo or cow? Bison ears. So
And,
just stuff like that.
The backstrap.
Oh,
And
okay.
back straps. So you always just want kind of a different variety of chews on hand, where they can get the immediate enrichment as opposed to having to work for it.
Okay, thank you.
That's why toys in general, although we think of toys as being toys and something extra, they're really important to have the right ones so that A, they're not frustrating your puppy, B, that they're appropriate for your puppy's development, C, that they're contributing to your puppy's growth mentally, I mean, as well as physically. And you want to be always trying to soothe your puppy's teething pain, which is of course a lot of what they're going through right now.
So Montana is using this one. It's kind of like a microfiber texture. It's very soft and comforting, and you'll see that his head is right on it. And he's very much just feeling that soothing factor with it. And then Reynold will pan the camera over to Sunshine, and he's using more of a cuddly toy. It's a stuffy, so you may get one of these in your PSK. Actually, Grace, you probably will get one in your PSK because he's obviously very comfortable and loves it, and he's got his head right on it. And this is again why we always recommend having a crate buddy, because they find security, they find comfort in having kind of a friend with them in their crate. So Sunshine's all cuddled up on that. So these are all the toys that they've been raised with. These are all things that they're very used to, they're comfortable with, and you can see
What's the name of the blue one? What's the name of the blue one? Look.
It's I don't know what it's called. It's in our puppy starter kit, so it's very exclusive, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's just a comfort toy for Montana, and he loves it. He's not even, he hears his name and he's just fast asleep. He's not budging.
Yeah, they're all calm too.
Yeah, I've got 4 over here. So
Yeah,
So-
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So sleeping obviously is something we want our puppies to do, and they do a lot of that. Don't be surprised at how much they do sleep. This is very key for their development, and also it's key for you to be able to get on with your life so that your puppy is having good rest during the night and also during the day when you're working or you're doing whatever you need to do in your world. Because when they're awake, they need your full attention. And so it's really important they have good sleep. If you've gone through Head Start and you did not get a puppy starter kit, you may find your puppy does not settle right away because they will not have all the things they're familiar with. But it's not because they haven't done well in Head Start, because they have all done fabulously. It's because you're introducing them to not only a new people and a new home, but everything will be completely foreign to them. Usually the first night, regardless, they will sleep through the night. But it's on the second night going forward, you may find that you have a few challenges with that until they get feeling a little bit more secure. So that's it. That's
Grace and Maria. have a
oh, sorry,
question.
Grace, go ahead.
Yeah, so in the contract it says we have to neuter it before on or before 8 months, right? But what's the earliest we can do it?
I recommend you wait as long as possible. It's far more advantageous to wait. But you can technically do it at any point, depending on what your vet is comfortable with.
Okay.
But for Sunshine, for all of them, waiting until just before their 8 months is ideal.
Just
8
before,
months is chosen in order to be the best for the puppy and also to have the puppies not quite sexually mature yet, so we're not having puppies from puppies.
Okay. So according to Dr. Sophia Yan's book, right?
Yeah.
She suggests to, put some peanut butter, put some food in a cone toy and put it inside the crate. Do you recommend that? Do you think it's a good
No.
idea?
No,
No.
so that's what we just went over with how they get too frustrated if they don't get immediate enrichment. So the only thing that should ever be in their crate is just their crate buddy. If they're in the X pen, they can have chew sticks, they can have toys, but in the crate, it should just be your crate mat, your puppy, and their little buddy.
And you will get that for Sunshine in your puppy starter kit.
Thank
will have
you.
It's great money in there, but yeah, the Kong, any rubber type toy, we highly recommend you do not use. Puppies' teeth are incredibly sharp. They can chew those things, break pieces off, and again, they can swallow them. And then all of a sudden, you've got a dog with an obstruction issue and a significant surgical bill. So it's also it's full of chemicals that you don't want your dog to be eating. So no rubber toys. The worst things are things like dentist sticks, Nyla bones. Yeah, those things are all absolutely terrible for dogs. They frustrate them. They can crack their teeth. They are full of toxic chemicals, artificial ingredients that are not good for them. And they can break off and cause an obstruction in your dog. So those are all really problematic. Rawhide is also absolutely never to be given to your dog. It is probably one of the worst things you could ever give your dog. All right, yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Last one, is it all right to throw a treat into the crate to encourage the dog to go in? Or do you just,
Yes.
should you just, yeah, that's okay, yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
okay, thank you.
All right, so have fun this next few sleeps. You will hear lots of things from me. And I will follow up with all of you and find out if you're gonna get the food box, if you want 1 month or 2. I can't tell you the exact price until I make it, because it is, as I said, curated for each individual puppy. Jasmine, if you want one, then we can do it through till the March delivery date in Victoria. Sarah, you're close enough, you can come pick up here whenever you want. So you could do a 1 or a 2 month, whichever you prefer. And Grace and now Dana, I don't know, Vernon, where you can get everything. I know you can in Kelowna, obviously. Vernon, I'm not sure, and I don't think we have another dog in Vernon.
We have Jasper.
Oh yeah, Jasper.
And Habby is going there from Cayenne's litter.
Oh, okay, so Jasper is up there, they might know.
I can text Marcy.
But, yeah, I'm sure you can also figure it out. And then Grace, Richard, and Chris and Maria, you could just ask on the community page and they will tell you, where you can get everything. Anything that's freeze-dried or a treat or a supplement, we can ship to you, no problem. You will not be able to find Puppy Love anywhere except for from us. We are the only retailer for them. But everything else you can get at other locations. But Grace, Richard, Chris, and Maria, if you just post to find out where everybody's shopping at, or if you want to switch just to freeze dried, then you can just order through us.
We
All right.
want it one.
I have a question about the pickup time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Say
yeah,
you're
I'll
gonna
tell you.
check the pickup time, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you all of that next week as well. I'll send that out to everybody, so you know, first pickup time is at 2. And then it's every 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Taylor, I think I'm still gonna pick up dim sum on the first. We're not gonna, so we are gonna pick up her on time. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, okay, all right.
Great.
Okay. Cool, all right, thanks, everybody. Talk
Thank
to
you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
one.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Enjoy your holiday, Sarah.
Thank you. I'll think of you all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Montana.